Let's go live. What up, Perks? What is happening? We're going to get into a couple things about ghost guns and the Commerce Clause. What is happening? Mute that. Let me refresh that. Why? Because I need to. That's why. And that didn't, or did it? Has it just not caught up yet? Give me a sec, guys. I'm trying to figure something out real fast. Okay, I think that's up now. Making sure I've got Rumble up and running. And I believe it's up. So, looks like my signal's running a little low. What's up, Brother Krabby? What's up, Brother MC? What's happening, guys? Hopefully my signal will wake up here in a second and not stay this slow. Sam, what is happening, brother man? How's it going? So like I was saying, we're going to look at a couple of things today. One is a criminal case out of California. And what we're looking at is what we're going to look at, I believe, is an appeal on how he was sentenced. Fire, what's up, brother? So we're going to look at that because that has to do with ghost guns and it has to do with interstate commerce. All right. And for those of you who don't know, most gun laws are based on the interstate commerce. That's where the federal government is finding their power to regulate arms that are owned inside the states. So we're going to look at that in a couple of ways. Which way does I want to go first? I know what I need to do, though, because I got to, because, damn it, it is just that way. Is it here? Nope, wrong one. We got to do it. No, we got to do it. You knew it was coming.
Hey, boys, look what I got here.
Hey, where are the white women at?
You knew it was coming. All right. So let's see. Where do I want to go first with this? Let's do this. Let me do a screen share and I'll show you guys something. And we might come back to it. But we'll show it to you real quick. So let's go over here to congress.gov. All right. Let me show you this real fast. So this is Ghost Guns and Untraceable Firearms Act of 2023. I never can pronounce this douchebag's name right. Let's look at something. Look at a couple things real quick. So let's look at actions on this bill. Let's see, all actions. So it was introduced on 7/27. They just got the text of this bill up, as far as I saw. Referred to the House Committee on the Judiciary. Let's see. Let's look at co-sponsors real fast. And, of course, they're all Democrat co-sponsors. Illinois, California, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, douchebaggery, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Texas. So it's probably, let's see. Is it Jackson Lee? You got Dean, CACA, Texas. Oh, Garcia. Yeah, well, it's just as fucking bad. She signed on 8/11. Looks like all these guys, just about. No, 7/27, 7/27. The rest of them signed on 8/11. Then Scanlon signed on the first. Bob Menendez, douchebag, signed in on the first too. So, but what I want to show you is the way a lot of these bills are constructed. So, this is what I'm talking about. So they base a lot of this on the Interstate Commerce Clause. It's why they're mentioning interstate gun trafficking interferes with lawful commerce in firearms, significantly contributes to gun crime. Both firearms traced. Okay, so even before the sale of a firearm, the gun, its component parts, and raw materials from which they were made have considerably moved in interstate commerce. So that's where the Fed's getting their power to try to go after this shit. Again, Interstate Commerce Clause. Let's see. And they mention interstate commerce in here a few times. Shall be unlawful for a person other than a licensed manufacturer or importer to engrave or cast serial number on a firearm in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce. They get it there. Beginning 1 year after the date, shall be unlawful for any person other than a licensed manufacturer or importer in the conduct of their business to knowingly possess a ghost gun in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce. So this one's riddled with interstate or foreign commerce, interstate or foreign commerce. Everywhere you see commerce down here, they're talking about interstate or foreign commerce. Again, that's where the government is getting their power to regulate these things. So, where do I want to go next? Let's do this. Warsaw, what's up, brother? That is fucking hysterical, Warsaw. You got to be joking. It can't be that funny. You got to be joking me. It can't be that funny. All right, let's see who else came in. All right, so Sam, MC, my brother come in, brother Tactical Fud, brother dang old Matt, my sister Vanessa Kitty, brother Warsaw's in. Okay, Warsaw, I have to take a look at it. So now that we see kind of how some of these bills are constructed, some of them won't necessarily mention the Interstate Commerce Clause, but they're editing sections in like 922 or 921 that mention the Interstate Commerce Clause, and they're just editing some of the text. So if you want to, here's a funny one today. So today, there was a hearing. Let me bring this up. Oop, no, I'm not going to be able to do it that way because, well, I'll try it. But the thing was giving me shit earlier trying, so I'm going to have to share it again. Yep, it's doing it again. So I'm going to have to screen share to share this. But they had a hearing today on examining proposed constitutional amendments. And it wasn't the longest hearing. It looks like it is, but they were in recess for a lot of this time. So the actual testimony and stuff wasn't very long. But I stopped this video right here because guess what they started talking about? The Interstate Commerce Clause. And Democrats and a lot of Republicans, frankly, are absolutely terrified of a restricted view of the Interstate Commerce Clause because they gain a lot of power through that. They can manage a whole lot of things that they shouldn't have the power to manage through the Interstate Commerce Clause. So let's listen to this for a sec. This was just part of the testimony from this. But this is old Nadless Nadler and their witness talking about they'll get to the Interstate Commerce Clause in a second. But listen to how fucking terrified he is of losing power, again, by a restricted view of the Interstate Commerce Clause. Well, that's another thing that scares him is having to have a balanced budget. Oh, I'm getting tired. Been a long day. Shit. Yeah. Yeah, most federal laws, yes, they are going to be built on the fucking Interstate Commerce Clause. No, man. Or maybe it was no, because they never got to the Floyd Act today in the Seventh Circuit. They talked about a whole lot of other shit, but they never got to the Floyd Act or the Floyd cards. Yeah, Sam, man, we're kicking ass, man. Hopefully you are too. You know how it is, man. It's life. You have good days, have the bad days, have the fast days, have the slow days. I thought it was in the Seventh Circuit. I'll have to look up because man, there was a bunch of damn cases rolling around today. Okay, well I'll have to look because I thought it was in the Seventh Circuit today. Anyway, let's get back to these fucking slack jawed morons. Yeah, that's right. Now, this is where, if you guys haven't heard about the Convention of States, they start talking about it here. And basically, Convention of States would be 2/3 of the states or whatever getting together. They have a convention to try to solve some issues with the constitutionality of things. And then it has to be ratified by 2/3 of the states, which terrifies the shit out of these assholes. The Fed is so scared of the state standing up to them. And the states are too scared to fucking stand up to them most of the time. Back in a flash. Yeah, here he goes. It's got nothing to do with affecting necessarily these laws. It has everything to do with limiting the government's power. And these guys, again, are absolutely fucking terrified of the government's power getting limited. The beer's a little froze. Now remember, almost all of their gun control is based on the interstate commerce clause. So a lot of what they're talking about, and I don't think they hit it here. I might have to listen to it a little bit more because I was just breezing through some of this stuff when I found this, and this was today. It scares the living shit out of them to lose that giant fucking stick that they got to beat everybody with. And see, the interstate commerce clause for, well, basically up into the 1920s, early 30s, I think, the courts had a very, very, very narrow reading of it. And once it expanded, it just fucking blew up. And now it's everything. Am I sharing the stream? I've got streams going on right now on Rumble, Twitter, and here, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, say 100%. I don't think they hit. He talks about a budget amendment bill, what the fuck ever. They're not hostile to anybody's freedoms. They're hostile to being forced to. Damn it. I'd like to see that list of groups. I'm going to have to try to look that up. Yeah. These fuckers are so terrified of the Constitution and the Constitution being enforced. Bernie, what's up, my brother? How you feeling? How you doing, man? Yes. And that's what these people are so terrified of is states instead of instead of a national divorce, which is, and I hope I'm not as choppy as what I'm seeing on my other screen. But instead of like a national divorce, which I think ought to happen, this would be a way for a bunch of states to get together and basically lay down the law to the Fed and tell the Fed what they can and cannot do and actually put some teeth into something. Ron Wayne, what is up, my brother? Let's listen to a little more of this, and then we'll get to this court case that I found. Huh?
Put my gun in here.
So you put your gun in here.
Okay, fine.
Steve, you got your homework done?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta check it. But careful.
My teacher message. Did you see my teacher's message? She said,
All right, I'll look at that, Warsaw. Let's go ahead. Let's listen to this case because I'm not going to be on forever. But hey, what?
let's bring Bubba.
Your tablets over there. Look, your kiddos are your tablets over there. What? Look over there. It should be charged. We'll see. All right, let's see. I've got this case downloaded. We'll see whether it'll do right.
No idea.
Please report. I'm Tim Zindel.
All right, let me see. Let me pull up one thing real fast. I think I've got because this was about Apollo. It was about a sentencing enhancement, but it was about a polymer 80. And during the case, they didn't even say whether this thing was finished and functional. So it's weird what I listened to of this, but we'll listen to it.
Representing Mr. Nunez is his true name. This is under Munoz, however. And I'd like to reserve 2 minutes of my argument.
Very good.
Your Honors, I'm not asking to make any new law here. This is.
Could you raise your microphone a little
Oh
bit?
yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And this is out of
asking
California,
to
so
correct us.
they're going to deal with some California statutes along with federal.
A third item that was deemed to be a firearm, despite the government presenting evidence that it was not a firearm, and that was deemed to have been possessed by Mr. Nunez under a state law that simply did not outlaw the possession of this item.
Well, it outlawed it if it was operable.
Well,
If it was operable, it's a firearm, and it would have been outlawed because your guy's a felon.
See, that's the argument.
If that had
They
been,
never
if
proved it
that
was
had been the
functional.
evidence, I
Correct.
think that that government would have had a better argument. But
No.
Yeah.
If your client, who's a convicted felon, had an operable
And listen to how hard this judge goes at this, because it was never proven that the gun was even functional. The government didn't even prove that. But this judge, he's a felon. He can't have a firearm.
firearm, however it was manufactured under state law, he would have been in violation of law, correct?
I don't think I agree with you.
Why
Your
not?
Honor, because the definition of this under state law required it to be completed. I suppose
That's
if
what
it
I'm
was
saying.
complete-
You
if you're
assume-
saying it's completed,
Yes, and
I
it's
think
operable.
then I will agree.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But the problem was that the state law and the federal law were in lockstep. And what we have now, what I'd like to do is respond to the government's Rule 28 letter of the other day. That's basically trying to resurrect an argument that the government expressly waived at sentencing of Mr. Nunez, which is that his possession of this firearm violated California Penal Code Section 2900. The government was asked that question by the district court, and this was after presenting evidence at trial that this item was not a firearm, specifically the testimony of Sergeant Johnson, who testified at trial that this was not a firearm under the existing state law.
So here it is, the state who's prosecuting this guy, and I think if I'm reading some of it right, they didn't charge him with the polymer 80 gun in the original charges, but they used it as a sentencing enhancement. And they, again, the state basically said this was a non-operational, it was a paperweight. I don't think it was finished. Although this other judge is just hung up on the fact that it might have been a gun or could have been a gun. I mean, he's just a typical California judge, basically.
Law.
Well, he
So-
testified, as I understand it, that it isn't a firearm when it comes unassembled, but it can be made into a firearm. That's what I understood the testimony to be.
Yes,
He said it was not a firearm when it was made or when it was when it
Right,
was transferred.
but once it's but we don't, I mean, my issue is that there appears to be no evidence that he assembled it or that he owned it as distinct from possessing it, or that, given the state that it was in when it was found, what it could do.
Right. I agree with you, Your Honor. I don't think that I think that was a problem. We did know
But
that.
I don't see why that isn't the same problem under 29-800 as it is under the other statute, because it still has to be a firearm.
I agree with you. The district judge, I think he got tricked by the argument.
But so what difference does it make whether they are under 800 or they're not under 800?
because
It
if
does.
it's not
If the
proven to be a
government- if the government
firearm, it
failed
shouldn't
to
be able to
prove
be
that it was a
fucking.
firearm under the definition, which would be the same for 29-180 and 29-800.
And I had one other question. 29-180 was amended.
And I'm not going through and looking at California statutes right now, but
Should apply here.
this was all about
2022 version.
basically
And there's another
ghost
version.
guns, and then having to be serialized.
We used the version that was in
Reno
force
May
in
would be the
November
one
of
to
2021.
they could say
At
all that probably off
sentencing,
the
that
top of
would
his
have been
head.
prior to any amendment. I don't know the nature of the amendment.
It
wasn't fair to
added a requirement that a person who has a firearm that doesn't have a valid serial number, that makes it additionally problematic.
Well, we would apply the law that was in effect at the time of sentencing, which would have been November of 2021.
So I hate to do this to you, but I can't help myself, okay? So at sentencing, the government only had to, or the court only had to find that this was a firearm by the preponderance of the evidence, correct?
I think it's fair, yeah.
Okay.
The lowest
And so
standard.
your guy had 2 guns that were real guns, according to you. At least one was loaded.
Yes.
And a whole bunch of ammunition. And one that looked like it was fully assembled, but the plastic part was melted.
It was
right?
melted and there was no
And so
clip in it.
what would your guy be doing with one of these if it was not a gun?
Well,
Using it
there
for
were
a paperweight.
number
What
of
does it
possible
matter?
explanations. It was in a
If the
different
state
spot,
can't prove it was
from
a
the other
functioning
two marked or
firearm,
in a bag
shouldn't matter.
together, and this one was just lying.
Mike
loose
McClune,
in
what's up,
the
my brother?
car seat.
Next to him.
There's no evidence about how it came to be there. Not well, he was in the driver's seat,
Right.
But by the time the car had basically been
Burned
incinerated,
up,
so
yeah.
everything had fallen down. So the other significant fact was there was no clip in the gun. There was nothing to show that the gun had been operable, and that evidence came in through Sergeant Johnson, who was the officer who did the stop and did the investigation.
Excuse me for interrupting. If there had been evidence that the object was completed as a firearm and capable of expelling a projectile, then the absence of the clip wouldn't matter, would it?
Yes, but the state
I mean,
still had
you're
to
saying
prove
it
that it
implies
was
that
a
maybe it was
finished
not
firearm.
completed. But if
And
we
they
knew
did-
that it was completed, the fact that the magazine wasn't in it wouldn't
I think that would change
help.
that.
Okay.
All right, Mike, you take it easy, brother.
But
least
the
as
problem
easy
is
as you
that that's
can.
not the state of the evidence. And the court specifically addressed that question twice. At ER 24, he says, the next question that I don't want to overlook is the one I asked, and he had asked it a few minutes before that. Under Penal Code Section 29800, is this a firearm? The government's answer was, I am not well versed enough to know. This was where a person in our office who knows guns better than I do says, this is how those guns are treated in the state system, referring to the other section 29180. So my sense is there must be some problem with applying a felon in possession state statute to ghost guns. I don't know the answer as to why. And the district judge then referred to Sergeant Johnson's testimony and declined to make a finding that it was a firearm. We had
Yeah,
the
you
expert
perps
during
hit the like.
trial, he said.
I never say that. You guys can like it or not like it.
Referred to an AUSA that he also spoke to, and the court said he didn't know either. I thought he knew everything. And the government said, none of us do, but this is how these guns are prosecuted in state court, these ghost guns. I can't answer to the court. I'm curious why there must be something. And I think I had identified what that something was in the reply brief, which is that it wasn't until earlier this year that the state amended its definition of firearms to include incompleted frames and receivers. And the court concluded, he said, they had a very emphatic understanding about what constituted a firearm. It seemed to be his expertise, his specialty. And so if he didn't say it wasn't a firearm under state law, I think he meant it was, there must be some reason. So I'm not going to make that leap. But I think
Can I ask you about that? Because you said something in response to one of Judge Graber's questions that confused me. I thought that there was a different definition of firearm for the 29180 statute as opposed to the 29800. Am I getting the numbers right?
This is
The two
just
statutes
the
that were-
ridiculous
there were
statutes in
different
California.
definitions of firearm for those two, and you said no, it's the same.
No, I don't believe there are. There was a different definition as to the manufacturer of firearms that preceded.
Remember, they're dealing with two things. They're dealing with the state and they're dealing with the federal statutes.
Definition, which until earlier this year, I think effective July 1st, did not include the incompleted frames.
I thought the whole reason
And receivers.
the government shifted from 29800 to the other statute was precisely because it couldn't satisfy the definition of firearm under 29800, and so it turned to this alternative statute, which had a somewhat broader definition. Am I getting that wrong?
No, I think the reason that they did that was because they ultimately realized that 29180 did not prohibit the possession of
Right, it's
non-serialized-
ownership, manufacture, or assembly. They would have had to prove one of those three things under 180.
They would have, for it to be unlawful.
So, in other words, for it to be unlawful, they couldn't prove it under one statute. So they just moved to the next statute and found it there because they're the government. And again, they always play the game of they win, you lose.
To be
Right,
a
right.
criminal, they would have to prove that it was
So
sold or transferred.
possession is not enough, but so the definition that I was looking at is found in section 16520, and it talks about as used in this part. So that part, does that include both 29,800 and the other one, 29,180?
Yes, I believe that it does. It's not a different definition. So I think, answering your question, Judge Watford, was I think the government ultimately realized that they have a problem
Yeah,
with 29.
and see, that's about right.
29,180.
Dude, I haven't listened to the Grateful Dead
requires
forever.
These kinds of low.
Yeah, fire. It's all
unfinished firearms. These
I've
polymer
said it before.
to be
My kids
serialized.
here, it's
There's a grace period that expires January 1st of 2024.
the government's playing a game of hide and go
In
F
the
yourself.
interim, both, as I mentioned,
And you
I
get to
agree,
go
both
first.
The ATF and the California State Legislature have acted to bring these kinds of things, to bring these kinds of items into the definition of firearm. But we're talking about a case that was sentenced in November 2021. And so
Taco,
this is
what's
not
up, brother?
To make any new law
My
here or
sister.
carve any new pathway. There was an error made in Mr. Nunez's sentencing that I believe this court should remand the case to the district court to have him sentenced without that two-level
Okay,
adjustment.
let's hear from the government. We'll give you
Thank
some
you very
time for
much.
rebuttal.
So, I mean, basically what he's arguing for is to lower the sentencing enhancement that they use to sentence this guy because this polymer 80 gun that they couldn't even prove was functional. Couldn't prove that it was finished, anything. But it shaped like a gun, so they're charging him with having this gun. I'm pretty sure he's the one who gets to
May it please
the
the court,
Commerce Clause.
Justin Lee on behalf of the United States. To first answer your question, Judge Watford, the definition of a firearm under 29,800, the felon in possession statute, is identical to the definition of a firearm under 29,180C. Those are identical, and they both come from California Penal Code 16,520. That's the definition of a firearm.
And with regard to 16,520, do we have to apply the definition that was in effect at the time of sentencing when determining whether the district court was right or wrong?
Yes, Your Honor, and that definition of a firearm was the same in 2020 when the defendant possessed it. It was the same in 2021 when he was sentenced, and it's the same today.
Yeah.
The definition has not changed. Judge Graber, you asked earlier about the law that was in effect with respect to 29,180C. That was SB 746 was the operative change in law that had gone into effect in 2018. That allowed a grace period, and that grace period expired on January 1st, 2019. The reference to a grace period in 2024 that is...
No, Sam, the state guy who actually checked the gun out said it wasn't functional. Said it wasn't a gun. But the prosecutors still used it as an enhancement for his sentencing.
Includes both a completed frame or receiver or a firearm precursor part. I don't think that part of the definition was in the earlier version. So
that's correct, Your Honor. That portion was not there, but that portion does not aid the court's consideration today because the operative definition.
Yeah, they pulling a Bill Clinton, baby.
Designed to expel a projectile by action of an explosive. That part hasn't changed.
Okay, well, tell us. I'm struggling to see how we would affirm the sentence here. So just first out of the box, what's your position? Your strongest argument for affirming is what exactly?
The strongest argument for affirming is that the district court got it right in the finding that it was a firearm. That finding was not objected to, so there's no plain error.
Talk about under federal law? Fine, that's fine. We shift to whether it was unlawfully possessed under.
So I mean, they are using federal law and state law to go after this guy for having this polymer 80, even though the state at the time of trial said that this thing wasn't finished. So if it wasn't finished, it wasn't a gun. Oh man, lawyers are killing this country. There are some that are doing good, but for the most part, lawyers are killing this country. It's like, what do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start. That is what it is.
State law.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Which statute? Just give us the argument.
The best argument, Your Honor, is 29-800, the felon in possession statute. It applies to all felons in California. Undisputed, the defendant's a felon. He admitted that in his stipulation.
Yeah, the problem is whether it's a firearm. We have this sort of melted down mess and with no clip in it.
Yeah, somehow, and I've got to look back into this case a little bit more, but somehow this polymer 80 ended up melted. And just, I don't know. This case is all over the place. G23, what's up, my brother?
And there, as I saw, there was no testimony that it was completed and capable of firing a projectile.
See, that's the part in this case. This dude's probably a complete POS. But I've said it before, a lot of times our rights aren't on trial or defended by good people. It's a bad person that gets caught doing something. The state basically overcharges them, and then they end up fighting it out. And that's what tends to affirm a right. Rahimi right now, going to the Supremes, is a perfect example.
Where's the evidence specifically saying that this was a firearm, other than it looked like it might have been?
Judge Graber, you're correct that there's no testimony that said we put a round of ammunition into that firearm and pulled the trigger.
Well, they couldn't, or even just, my expertise tells me
yeah,
looking at
perfect,
it,
NC.
it's capable of doing that. There's nothing like that.
That's correct, Your Honor. However, Sergeant Johnson's testimony at excerpt 46 and 53 was referring to it as a handgun, as a firearm, as a gun. There was no testimony that this thing was anything other than a gun.
But that's
There was no testimony that it was a functional firearm.
it's a legal conclusion, isn't it? Or at least a conclusory factual statement that, doesn't seem to be supported by what evidence there actually was about the object.
Your Honor, I disagree that there's not sufficient evidence that this item that was possessed by the defendant was a firearm. The jury found that the two other guns supported a guilty verdict. Inherent in that jury.
The two other guns, as far as I know, they were functional firearms. I think they were actually manufactured by an FFL. So yeah, they got them stone cold on those. Hey, is what it is. I don't believe that a felon who gets out should be barred from owning firearms. I think when you get out on the street, you get all your rights back, 100%. But this case is what it is. The biggest argument here is that this polymer 80, they couldn't even prove was a functional gun, but they used that as a sentencing enhancement for them, which is absolute horseshit.
Finding is that there were two firearms and they met the definition of a firearm. Sergeant Johnson's testimony was consistent as to all three firearms.
Well, but all three weren't alike. If this had been an ordinary weapon, then the logic of what you're saying makes sense, but I don't see the jury having made a finding specifically with respect to this.
Well, juries are full of a bunch of idiots most of the time. You might have one, two people on a jury that are actually worth it.
And the district court specifically
and the rest are
raised the
just
issue at the sentencing hearing at
straight out
excerpt 20 and
NPCs
said
for
it
the
is-
state.
The government's brief says it's undisputed that the ghost gun is a firearm.
Gabriel,
Defense
what's
did
up,
not
my
object to
brother?
that characterization, and the record supports that it was a finding, that it was a firearm.
So, counsel, let me ask you your response to the idea that
Yeah.
you're now relying
Surely
on
you're joking.
29,800
No, I'm
because
not. Don't call me
29,180 doesn't
Shirley.
apply because there, again, I saw no evidence that of the defendant assembling it, owning it, or manufacturing it as distinct from possessing it.
Your Honor, I disagree. The United States is relying on both 29800 and 29180C.
Well, okay. How do we know that there was ownership?
The district court made that finding at excerpt of record 26.
Based on what?
Yeah.
Based on
Possession.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But possession, he could have stolen it. I mean, he's, not a law-abiding character, obviously, with due respect. But so maybe he picked it up off the street or stole it from somebody. Why is there ownership?
The defendant's possession of the item in his car with 2 other firearms that he was in possession of, and the finding by the district court that that is ownership is not clear error. Moreover, the fact that the firearm and the ammunition related to that firearm were segregated, that possession of the loaded 14-round magazine in the defendant's backpack goes to whether or not that firearm was owned and controlled and possessed by that defendant and is not something that he recently came into contact, and also as to it being a firearm, because having a loaded magazine does not make sense if it is something other than a firearm. It's not a toy. It is not a firearm part. A loaded magazine that only works with that particular firearm of the 3 in the vehicle.
This judge holding his hands up like this.
Is in fact.
Is he getting ready to box?
So that was so there was a loaded magazine that fit this plastic gun.
But if they're Glocks, it'll fit any damn Glock, you jackass.
And could it have fit either of the other firearms?
No, Your Honor. That was explicitly discussed at trial transcript, page 136, that this magazine that was loaded with 14 rounds of ammunition only fit in the polymer 80 firearm. It would not fit in the other 2 firearms.
So let me ask you again.
Now, what were the other 2 firearms? If the other 2 firearms were Glocks, it would definitely fit.
Did the government give up the opportunity to rely on 29800?
No, Your Honor.
The
United States in its sentencing
man against the masses. What's up, my brother?
180C. The district court sua sponte at the sentencing hearing raised the applicability of 29800.
Man against the masses. I was just a second or 2 off.
Response to that,
I was trying.
Back to
It was either going to be 545 or 556.
Something that the prosecutor was unsure of.
I missed it.
The other issue with 29180C is that it, at least the version I have in front of me, but I want you to tell me if I'm looking at the wrong version. The version, as I understand it, that was in effect at the time of sentencing said, by January 1st, 2019, any person who, as of July 1st, 2018, owns a firearm, blah, blah, blah.
That's
I
true.
think this would require proof that not only was the defendant the owner of the firearm in question, but that he owned it as of July 1st, 2018, and I didn't see any evidence of a point in time at which he acquired ownership.
That's correct, Your Honor. There's no evidence in the record about the time that the defendant came into possession of that firearm.
But then the statute wasn't violated, or at least you didn't prove that it was violated.
I was going to tell you to
No,
do
Your
that
Honor,
too.
I disagree with that. That statute.
It was either that or cornbread.
Grace period because
And I was thinking
people
about
have been
cornbread.
manufacturing firearms.
You
in the
gonna
state
eat
of
that
California,
cornbread?
And this was a new law that had just gone into effect. So they were giving a grace period for people that had previously owned them.
Right, so let's just back up and start with the statute's language again. By January 1st, 2019, so that's the grace period, any person who, as of July 1st, 2018, owns a firearm. So you have to have been the owner as of July 1st, 2018. So you just admitted that there was no proof that this defendant was the owner of this firearm as of
Your Honor,
July
I
1st.
disagree that 29180C only applies to an owner of the firearm at that time.
Of course you disagree. You're the state. You want to lock everybody
the
up.
Possession of an unserialized firearm, period. Any firearm.
Do you have the statute in front of you? I just read it to you. It says any
I got-
person who, as of
I got all
July
that
1st, 2018.
trash taken out.
So I don't, what is the other meaning of that besides you have to have been the owner as of that date?
I think when it is read in conjunction with the rest of that statute, because prior
No
to
cash bail started
lawfully
yesterday.
manufacture a firearm in California and not serialize it. After that law went into effect, using 29180D, it was unlawful to manufacture So any firearm that came into being in the state of California had to be serialized. And 29180C makes it a misdemeanor per firearm in that penalty provision in subsection G, where any firearm that is unserialized would qualify.
Okay, I think the statute was defectively drafted, unfortunately, and I fixed it in the version now. But I think you're just stuck with this awkwardly drafted provision that just doesn't fit these facts. Can I just ask you to follow up on Judge Graber's question? I don't understand how you preserved the 29800 argument, given that you were explicitly given an opportunity by the district court to put on proof to satisfy it. I think far from just sort of redirecting the court's attention to another statute, I think I don't know if it was you or your colleague in the office.
Yeah, he might, Sam.
They said, no, we're not in a position to show that that statute was satisfied, and that's why we're not asking you to make a finding under that statute, and please look at this other statute. So it seems to me whatever opportunity the government had to show that the terms of that statute.
There's no telling, man. No telling.
Notwithstanding court's accurate representation of what happened at the sentencing hearing, this court under Allen can still affirm for anything that is supported by the record. And a finding that the defendant possessed it in violation of 29800 is supported by the record.
Is that true in the criminal sentencing context?
Your Honor, I don't have a direct Ninth Circuit case.
I mean,
on
we
point.
we apply that all the time in civil cases, but maybe I'm just not thinking of the cases themselves, but I wonder about that.
Your Honor, the Gill case that is cited in the government's 28J letter is outside the circuit, but that exact circumstance happened, that had not been relied upon by the government, and the court found that it was supported by the record at...
I have to look up and see which case he's citing.
If there are no further questions, I see I'm over my time.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's put 2 minutes on the clock for rebuttal. If you have anything you'd like
I
to say.
swear to God, they mentioned the Interstate Commerce Clause. I think that's what I keyed on. Or it may just been them talking about ghost guns. Either way.
4 things. First, Judge Battalion, there was, I don't agree with the government's assessment that clip only fit the polymer 80. It was a 9mm clip. It was found in the bag with the other 2 serialized firearms that were the subject of the indictment. And both of those were also 9mm handguns.
All right, but you don't think there was any testimony that particular magazine or clip fit only in the polymer gun?
Not that it fit only in the polymer gun.
Or was there any testimony that the clip could have fit in any of the 3 firearms?
There wasn't evidence.
I don't think the state wanted to go there.
But it was with the other.
I hate to take up your time, but the evidence...
And see, I don't think the state originally... Because, again, they used the polymer 80 at sentencing to enhance his sentence. I don't think the state wanted to argue that polymer 80 gun was a firearm for the actual charges, because I don't think they wanted to get into the Interstate Commerce Clause and whether or not it was a firearm that had moved in interstate commerce. It's this so weird kind of case.
Is that one was loaded in the bag, right? Mm-hmm. And another one was not loaded in the bag. Is that right?
It had a clip, but it was an empty clip.
Okay, so you got a third clip.
A third clip.
Okay.
And whether that clip,
but all 3 firearms were 9mm.
They're all 9mm. The second is the government has been arguing. I think they argued that the court should review this for plain error. The objection that made on Mr. Nunez's behalf of sentencing was to application of the 2K2 number of firearms adjustment. That put all the questions at issue, whether it was a firearm and whether he unlawfully possessed it. That's how the district court understood it. That's how we discussed it in sentencing. So I don't believe that is correct. And then again,
are you going to eat another warhead?
No evidence.
My son likes warheads.
That is a firearm, but in this unusual situation, we have evidence that it is not a firearm. evidence that was presented by the government at trial and
And
essentially
he'll do
conceded by the
like me. He'll lick all the sour
and so
shit off
now
and
the
then
government's
be done with it.
arguing that you could affirm based on evidence supported by the record.
Take it.
Here, the government essentially abandoned that argument at sentencing by saying we're not relying on that. So I don't think it's fair for them to come back at this late stage and say, well, you can affirm on that basis after we told you,
Oh,
that's not
them
what.
roach clips will get you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Case just argued is submitted.
It may have been another case after that that mentioned the Interstate Commerce Clause. I don't know. But either way, this was about the whole ghost gun. And it's funny the way the state did that. They had them on the 2 manufactured firearms, serialized guns. They had them there. Felon in possession, whatever. But again, the argument about the polymer 80 was they never proved that it was a functioning firearm. Then they used it in the sentencing enhancement. And that's where this argument comes in, that they're basically trying to drop that sentencing enhancement. And it's crazy that the state is able to pull some of this crap. Like saying, hey, there was this one 9mm clip and it could only gone to that polymer 80. Well, if the other 2 guns are Glocks or would accept Glock mags, that magazine could have fit any of those guns. It's a weird case. But it's not necessarily an outlier because the government does this shit all the time. Where they're arguing about, ammunition, and they're arguing about the type of firearm or whether this is a ghost gun, and it's this big mixed up mess. But again, all of this, especially when we're talking about the federal side of this, depends on the Interstate Commerce Clause. Just like the ghost gun bill that I showed at the start of the stream, where it's interstate or foreign commerce, interstate or foreign commerce, interstate or foreign commerce. And then going to the hearing where you can tell that the Democrats are just absolutely terrified of a restrictive view of the Interstate Commerce Clause, because a restricted view of the Interstate Commerce Clause would effectively shut down gun control, period. Because the federal government has no say-so whatsoever in the types of arms that are owned in the states. They don't. They have no power to control that. Ryder, what's up, brother? It probably was, MC, those full automatic hollow points. Now, I'm pretty sure the gun itself was probably a full semi-automatic gun. So, I mean, that makes it even more scary, apparently. So this, I don't know, it's another kind of crazy case. I've got, and I thought I did a stream on the oral arguments for 2 cases about the Illinois assault weapons ban. I'll go back and look, and hell, even if I did them, we might do them again, just to keep everybody fresh on that. Warsaw sending me some good stuff we're going to do some streams on. So I got some more research to do, but I just thought this was kind of a cool case to listen to. And then the other things that hit today about the Convention of States, the timing on that was just about perfect right now. And then of course, looking at some of the gun control bills that are out there, like the ghost gun bill that we looked at. It's just there's. Hey, I don't know. Ryder, it could have had a brace on it. It could have been shooting high caliber rounds. It could have changed it from shooting a regular 22 caliber round to like a fucking 20mm round, just because it's had a brace near it or on it or next to it or something like that. According to Democrats, anyway. Gabber, what's up, brother? Hopefully you're doing good, taking it easy. But yeah, it was I don't know, it's kind of interesting listening to this case and then seeing the stuff come up about the Interstate Commerce Clause today. And I'm still looking for more of the stuff coming out of Illinois, like I said, out of Illinois for the assault weapons ban. Let me look at something real fast. Freedom Steel, that's who it was. He did a update today about some of the stuff going on in Illinois and the registration and shit like that. I wonder if I can dig it up real fast. And if I can, I'll throw the link in the chat and let you guys watch that, because I'm going to get out of here in just a sec. Here it is. Shit. That wasn't hard to find. Yeah. The ad at the start of it. If you own a gun. Yeah, a few, actually. What are you going to do about it? All right, so that link is Freedom Steel's update on some stuff. Warsaw Knows Cat. I was going to do a show while I was up in LJ, but couldn't get internet access worth a shit in the hotel, so I had to bail out on the stream with Freedom Steel. But that would have been a good one to be on. I'm gonna have to try to get with Freedom Steel and get him on the stream together, and shoot the breeze about what he's seeing, because he's a guy, man. He's really plugged in. I think he has testified in front of Congress on stuff. Seems like a really sharp dude. Did you see the band director who got tased? No, dude, I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to look that up. Or if you got a link, throw it in chat so I can find it. Because band director, Alabama, I don't know. He probably had that shit coming. Silencers create black holes. Yeah. It's man, with all the cases that we've seen with the Supreme Court actually, especially with Bruin, confirming our rights, I don't see why in the hell the NFA can even exist right now. I do not see how, but it does, and it's definitely a I don't know. It's just amazing to me, man. But it's like one of these things where these laws have stood for so long. It's like, well, these laws are 30 years old. These laws are 90 years old. Just because an infringement has been there for a very long time doesn't make it constitutional. That's funny. Let's see something. We'll have to watch this one together. Here we go. I got my troops coming. Which game was the Alabama band director? This had to be like a high school game. Why is it not? Okay. Birmingham police. Yeah, that makes sense there. Let's see why when I hit share it didn't initially come over. This, like I said, this had to be a high school game. Sergeant, they already talked about putting him in handcuffs. Now, why would the cops push this so hard? Looks like a high school band just getting down after a game. Man. Another situation that, the cops, man, you can't disrespect me. I'm the police. Dude, they just zap him. Hold on. What? Hold on. I gotta back that up. Oh, he took off running. Man, people are just idiots. What in the world is up with these folks? Is the whole band staff or the coaching staff getting involved in this? Yeah, that's it, MC. Respect my authority. You got to think, man, some folks ain't got no home training at all whatsoever. You have the cops that got this attitude that nobody can, stand up to them. You end up with crap like this. Yeah, you going to jail. Oh, he said someone swung on the officer. Well, the officer may have had that shit coming too. I did not swing on the officer, man. Y'all driving alone. You hear me? Yeah, that's some disrespect. Dude, just because you got a badge on doesn't mean you are owed respect at all whatsoever. Oh, he just drive stunning him. Ooh, nope. He hit him with prongs in. And they just, there ain't no call for some of this crap, man, at all. Let me see whether I can find something real fast, because it's just one of those cases. I'll let this run, but let me look for something. Oh, well, that was the end of it. Okay, well, let me kill that real fast. Let me look for something real fast. Hold on, I gotta turn my light on so I can see my damn keys. No, that's not all that shit. No, that's not it. I used to know the guy's name right off the top of my head because just how fucked up that shooting was. And it's one of those cases where I think the cops should have gone to damn prison over it. Okay, man? Let's see what I can find. If I can find this real fast, we'll watch it. And then I'm going to bail on the stream. Let me see. Let me throw it over here. I'm going to see what I can find his name real fast, and I can look at it that way. Is it? Was it this dude? Let's see. See whether it's this dude. The name sounds right. Yeah, I think this is it. In fact, oh look, active self-protection. Yeah, he did do a video on it. Let me see what I can find, just the body cam of it, though, because this is the dude. Is this one it? This one might be it. Hold on, let me look. Okay. This one's it. Let me see. I'm going to do a screen share on this. Now, to give some backstory on this, what'd you do with the other one? What'd you do with the other one? Huh? Unless you eat the whole thing, you throw the rest of it in the trash, okay? But this dude, the story was, at least, and I'm trying to remember this, guys. He was up late with his girl. They were playing video games. They were getting loud. The neighbor called a couple times on a noise complaint, and the cops weren't showing. So the neighbor turns around and he calls in a domestic violence complaint. So for a DV, cops got to be on their way, and they got to be on their way fast. So watch this.
Phoenix Place.
And you guys tell me what you think, because I think these cops should have been in fucking prison. At least one who pulled the trigger.
How you doing? Whoa! Put hands!
I found a thingy doodle on the floor.
Yeah, that's one of the potholder things. So out, go,
Thingy doodle.
go, thingy doodle. So this dude, late at night, someone's beating on his door. He answers the door with his gun. And you watch him, he goes to lay down his gun. He throws his hand back like, I'm not a threat. And the cop that's behind him is the one who shoots. The cop who's in the least amount of danger.
Back away from the gun. Get back and get out here. Come out here. Come out. I'm not going to shoot you. Come out here.
Let me see what
Come out
it is.
here.
Show me.
Over here. Over here. Get down on your knees. Get down on your knees. Get down on your knees. Just get down. Just get down. Relax.
Oh, let me pause it here. Watch this. Let me do this. I'm going to slow this thing down. Which way is slowing it down? 125. I think this is slowing it down. So watch this. It's going to take a minute longer because, hey, so he comes out.
How you doing? Whoa! Put
He's got his gun. Now watch him. He's got his gun behind him. He's not pulling it. He's going down to his knees when the cop right there shoots his ass.
Where's my parents?
So some people don't have the temperament to be a cop. Well, you're right about that, brother. Because a lot of these people, man, oh, you can't, you got to respect my authority. But watch. Dude's going down to his knees, and that cop just reaches around the corner and drills him. That is not a cat that is a threat. You're at his house.
Oh! Put
So you guys can make up your minds about that shooting. You guys can look up that shooting. Yeah, Matt, there's a lot I would like to say. That cop who pulled the trigger, I don't think anything happened to him. He should be in prison over that shit. But I don't think anything happened to him. Kind of like Flannel Castile, the cop who popped him. Nothing ever happened to him. But the Flannel Castile shooting was a little bit different because I think all they had was a dash cam of it, so you couldn't see what Castile was doing. I don't think he pulled the gun on the cop. But this, you've got body cam. And I can't find the body cam, I don't think, from the officer who actually shot. It's like that shit just got wiped out. But that's okay. That's just a rant. Just one of those rants. Yeah, dude. If it's me, you're beating on my door after 9, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, I'm not opening the door. I might talk to you through the door, but I'm not opening that door. And then if you come through that door, whatever happens, happens. It ain't gonna be fun for you. Probably ain't gonna be fun for me either, but it definitely ain't gonna be fun for you. Just crazy things, man. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Wife's home, kids home. I gotta go do some dishes and get some stuff cleaned up. So anyway, you perps be cool. Hopefully you got something out of this stream about interstate commerce clause, ghost guns, all that kind of stuff, man. And someone else should be going live sometime tonight. So, we'll be hanging out in some more chats. But I thought it was an interesting look at some of the things with the interstate commerce clause. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. As always, you perps be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times, whether it looks like this, whether it looks like this. Keep that thing on you at all times. And realize your government hates you and they're pretty much want you dead or enslaved. Kurt, man, brother, what's up? Damn, dude, I wish you were in here earlier because we're fixing to shut this one down. But brother Kurt, you be cool, man. And we'll hopefully, like I said, I don't know who's doing what tonight, but people should be going live Tuesday night. Is it Monday? Tuesday night, isn't it? Shit, man, I'm losing my days. Tuesday. So Dark should be going live later tonight and shit. We should have a couple other guys, Tactical Turkeys, all that kind of stuff going live. So hopefully I'll see you guys in some more chats tonight. And just be cool, man. Watch out for yourselves, man. Keep up with families. Don't forget to tell people you love them. Y'all take it easy. I'm out, man. Love you guys. You guys are cool as shit. So, yep, turkeys then dark, Kurt. I will see you guys in the chat. So, Sam, MC, Fudd, Fire, Gabber, MC, Matt, Sam, all you guys, man. Ryder, you guys all be cool. You guys are all cool as shit. Man Against the Masses, the Meme Lord. Love you, brother. Sam, always kicking ass. G23, my brother. Gabriel, Ron Wayne. Taco, my sister. You guys all be cool. Like I said, I'll see you guys in some more chats tonight. But I'm getting out of here for right now. I'm going to hang out with some kiddos, get something to eat. You guys be cool. Later, perps.